It's the Brad and John Show.
The Brad and John Show for Friday, April 4th. This is the C block, the Charlie block, which means we started about 7:40. John, I have a clock in front of me that it's an accurate clock, but it doesn't change time frame. So it's still on.
That makes a lot of sense, Brad.
I have two clocks here. I have to make sure I look at the right one. It's 7:46 right now. Okay. First off, I will have to compliment MoDOT on this. Because how many times do you hear stories about, well, we're going to do this project? Matter of fact, I heard Mark Reardon complaining about the fact he lives somewhere out of Valley Park area. If you know that road there, they're redoing that road that if you go down, it's sort of like the South Service Road from 141 to the west, and you go past Krause Farms. There's stuff like that.
Yep, I know exactly. If you're going to Six Flags, you're familiar with that area.
Right. He complains, he lives back there, and he complains about the fact that they've closed the road, but they haven't done any work for like 2 weeks. The road's closed, and now what's happening is the people have figured out that the road's not torn up or anything, and you can just bypass the barricades and go shortcut. And now
very nice.
Now they're sending out warning letters that to the residents, if you are caught here, you're going to get a ticket. Okay. We talked about the stuff going on with the expansion of Interstate 70 from west of Lake St. Louis all the way to Kansas City, believe it or not. They're going to redo the entire 40, 64, 70 interchange out there in Wentzville. I have to admit, I am surprised at the work that's been done already. If you've been out in that area on 4064, they're already starting to put in the third lane, which would make it 6 lanes, 3 lanes in each direction, from K west all the way out to the 70 merge. And then on 70 from, I guess that would be just west of the exit there. Was that highway, is that Z or is that highway A? I think it's highway A, where the General Motors plant is. They've already started working there. They're chopping down all the trees and they're clearing the ground so the excavators can get in there and start moving the dirt around. I'm telling you, they're getting things done. I'm thinking to myself,
well, hey, I mean, let's just attribute it to Mike Kehoe. He's a MoDOT guy. He's a big fan of the MoDOTs.
Well, they're because we've heard about this, and if you ask Steve Ellman about this, how many decades and Steve tells the story all the time about the crazy weird curve at the railroad bridge there in Wentzville. And if you know your history of the interstate, that is pretty much the last section of the original Interstate 70, where it goes underneath the railroad bridge, because the railroad has been somewhat uncooperative for decades about relocating that bridge, and I think the highway department has to pay for it, but the railroad still has to approve it and stuff like that. So I'm impressed that they're making progress. Now the next phase, unfortunately, since they're clearing all the stuff out, the next phase is going to be lane closures and diversions and things like that, which is going to cause problems. But you got to have the pain to get the gain, right? Isn't that the way the game goes?
Yeah, I think so. And a little bit of pain, but I think everybody knows that area's got to get fixed.
Yeah, and they're working on it, so we're doing all that kind of stuff.
Is this, let me interrupt, Brad, is this enough to get you to join another MoDOT panel? Like, don't you want your name in another binder collecting dust somewhere?
No, I told the story.
Now, new listeners haven't heard this. Folks with our expanded reach have not heard the story, and I love the story, Brett.
Years ago, when I was doing my traffic network, I got drafted, and they didn't draft me. They asked me very nicely if I would be on this citizens committee, which was like a mixed committee. It was citizens, but it was guys from IDOT, and it was MoDOT people, and it was various law enforcement agencies and stuff like that. And it was the biggest waste of my time, because we went out at the Chesterfield headquarters, and it was like, okay, if this is how things get done in government, now I know why everything is screwed up. We'd meet like once a week for 2 hours. We'd talk about this stuff, and okay, now what are your suggestions? And people would have all sorts of suggestions, and none of them were ever used. None of them.
Yeah, but you know what? The law states that you have to have public, and your favorite word, Brad, stakeholder input, and you were a stakeholder,
right?
And God forbid they didn't get stakeholder input,
right? And the only thing that came out of it, and I'm not saying that I'm personally to thank for it, but it was one of these things where the thing that kept coming out from, and John is going to make fun of me when I say this, that if you're driving along the interstate, I know pretty much exactly where I'm at. I can say, in the St. Louis area, I can say I'm on westbound 70. I'm a mile west of the highway.
Maryville Center.
Right, our westbound 40. I'm between Maryville Center and 141, okay? Halfway between. And people go, okay, what we did come up with is the signs that are every 0.2 of a mile. And more importantly, they have what interstate it is, they have the mile marker, they have what direction, and then they have the 1/10 of a mile down to 0.2 of a mile. So if you're driving along the highway and you see an accident within 0.2 of a mile of that accident, technically between 1.9 tenths of a mile of that accident, you're going to find a sign that's going to say 40. And it's or like, let's say on 44 for sure. I see them all the time. 44 westbound. It's going to say mile marker 242.2.4. So when you call 911 and you tell them,
do people call 911?
I do, John. You don't. Matter of fact,
is 911 still around?
John,
it's very quaint.
John, just yesterday, believe it or not, there was a nasty accident happened right in front of me. I went, and this is a true story. I went to see Shelley yesterday, and I'm driving back east on 70, and I guess the guy was going too fast. It was one car accident, and he destroyed his car, went into the center median, and he's blocking the left lane. And I just about grabbed my phone and was dialing 911, and I saw him standing in the traffic lane, dialing 911. I go, okay, he's already got this covered. So, yes.
Well, no, actually, what I heard was he got his phone out and he went to the Nextdoor app. And he had asked Gladys, because, Gladys usually stays on top of local deer and also loud noises. And Gladys was already said, did anybody hear that crashing sound? And he was replying to Gladys.
Okay. Do you know who Sean Balint is?
No.
Sean Balint is a radio guy. Now, I don't know if this is a spoof. Sean, I would say, is probably in his 50s, maybe early 60s, probably 50s, okay? Sean Balint is a guy that's been in radio business. He's got a big, deep, beautiful voice. Used to be on KTRS, used to be on Frank Opinion Show. There's a post on his Facebook page earlier this week that said he's been accepted into the SIU Medical School. Now, first off, I'm a undergraduate of SIU Edwardsville, and he says that he's been accepted. He has his acceptance letter to the SIU Medical School, and he's going to study family medicine, and apparently he's gotten some kind of a scholarship when he graduates. And once again, I'm assuming this is real and it's not BS, that when he graduates, he's going to be like a doctor in a small town or something like that, okay? The interesting thing for me was I didn't know SIU had a medical school, but it's sort of bizarre because you know what the deal with the SIU Medical School is?
No, I don't.
It's in Springfield. And I'm going like, hold on a minute.
Oh, wow. So like it's a satellite school, I
well,
guess.
And it's interesting because of the fact that I went on the site and looked at the whole thing, and they have a program where, and apparently what you do is you do your first year of medical school at the Carbondale campus. And then after you go through your first year of medical school, which is like biology and all that kind of stuff, you transfer to the Springfield campus, which I didn't even know existed. And it was pretty interesting. And they also have, this is like the Bob Onder thing. They have a specific program, and it's a 6-year program where you graduate as an attorney and a doctor. You get a JD, Juris Doctorate, and an MD, medical doctorate.
Oh, it's the old Brad Bradshaw degree.
Right, it's the Brad Bradshaw degree. I'm a doctor and I'm an attorney, and if you get injured...
And I'm also the czar of Missouri marijuana.
Right, I'm the czar of Missouri marijuana. We won't rehash that story, but that was one of the competing marijuana ballot initiatives.
So this radio guy is going to go to doctoral school.
I guess. I don't know if it's a joke or not. I need to contact him. I don't have his phone number. I just going to message him and essentially say, Sean, is this for really doing that? But I thought it was interesting because of the fact that I did not know about SIU having a medical school. And apparently it's been around for a while. Now,
well, you clearly don't read the alumni newsletter as clearly as the rest of the graduates do.
Because of the fact that I was declared dead by the SIUE Alumni Association, which is another interesting story. Okay, what I find fascinating about this is more stuff comes out all the time, and I'm reading from an article that I read yesterday. Okay, let me give you the headline. This is the headline of the article. Okay, ex-Biden campaign staffer slams former president's teams for knowing he was, quote, not capable. He feels like he was lied to. Okay, John, why do people on the inside, were they that blind to Biden? And I say once again, ladies, if you're in a marriage and your husband starts to lose it, instead of pushing him out there and pushing him saying, oh, Joe's the sharpest guy in the sharpest tool in the shed. He's got his finger in the pulse of everything. When your man, and ladies specifically, because let's be honest, most of the time the dude goes first. The woman, you go to old folks' homes and there's lots of women, not too many dudes. That's why the dudes are always in demand, but that's a whole other story. But why is it that all these people were, quote unquote, so close to Joe that didn't see it? And you and I were not within 1,000 miles of Joe and said, this guy's lost it. How is it possible that these people didn't see this, John?
I think some people probably saw it and they wanted to keep their job and they thought Joe Biden would get reelected. And it's very easy in March and April of 2025 to criticize other people for the fact that what you saw with your own two eyes, you didn't believe.
But how can you be so blind to this? I mean,
because people, but I think, Brad, you believe what you want to believe. And also, let's be fair, excuse me, like if you worked in the Office of Management and Budget, or you worked in pick a random Washington, D.C. Biden administration post, you probably literally didn't ever see Joe Biden. So you would see him on TV and you would think, hey, he looks pretty bad. But Joe in the president's office, he swears Biden's fine, so I guess he's fine. And also, you really don't care. It's just, to me, Brad, the cynic says that it's really convenient that these people are painting themselves as, I was lied to. I can't believe the administration lied to me about the condition of the president. It's just very convenient.
Well, what bothers me, and I've talked about this way too much, is all these reporters who, most of them are on CNN and MSNBC, and now they're coming out with these tell-all books, what you didn't realize about how Joe Biden was in such bad shape. Okay, they knew it, but they wouldn't talk about it, right?
Yeah, of course that's what it is. But Brad, as we've discussed before too, if you're in that position in the White House Correspondents' Room, you want to be loved by the administration. You don't want to be a Peter Doocy. You don't want to be a squeaky wheel. You want access to the vice president because, Kamala's going to be president. We don't want to make the administration mad.
John, I'm going to ask you, we're almost to the end of the show. I'm going to ask you a quick question. Do you think that the people that Trump has surrounded himself with, the J.D. Vances and the Pam Bondis and all the other people, if you had to compare their media savvy with the current Democrats, what would your opinion be?
Oh, night and day. I mean, they're so much better than whatever the other side has.
And I couldn't agree with you more. And the thing, what I find interesting about that is the Democrats are the ones who are shining up to all the social media stars and all the
celebrity, the Oprahs and the Beyoncés.
Right. Don't you think some of that media savvy would rub off on them? Instead, you got Chuck Schumer, who has not gotten to the point where people are starting to make fun of him because he just seems like he's out of it. I mean, not out of it, but he just seems like he doesn't really, have any idea what's really going on.
He's irrelevant, yeah.
Right.
No, to answer your question, Brad, I think that the Democrats' message just isn't effective. And you can't always blame the tactics. Sometimes the idea of, hey, let's go in there and cut government waste, sometimes that's more powerful than, USDA does so much good work in Botswana.
Yeah, well, USAID, if you read about some of the programs that they canceled, you go like, we were paying for that? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, listen, though. They sent peacemakers to the St. Louis region yesterday and made peace between Brad Hildebrand and John Combest. Like, who ever thought that would have happened this month?
Man, that's hard to believe that happened.
Brad, you are wonderful, and I love you so much.
John, we're moving on, right?
Yeah, hey, I'm great. I feel like 1,000,000 pounds is off my chest.
Okay.
Brad.
Okay, we'll move on down the road, and we'll have more fun on Monday. Have a good weekend, John. And you know what? I had a bunch of outdoor work, but judging from the forecast, I'm not going to be doing much outdoor work this weekend.
I don't think so. You unfortunately can't cut your grass. Well, enjoy the indoor time, Brad. I'll talk to you on Monday.
Okay. And hold on a minute. You know what? You got ahead of me here. Okay, now I'm good. Okay, I will talk to you Monday, John.